haven't answered your question, but I think it's a very interesting thing to build out. So we haven't gone into...
It's a big opportunity to change our own lives, and then they can change their lives, perhaps.
I think in general, when we talk about this with incentives and business, I think one thing which I like about this Basque region, and actually what to talk about with the hub also, is that when you have localized ownership, or actually not talk about ownership but responsibility, you feel that you have the ability to affect.
I need them to solve their problem and account for their investment. It's very straightforward stuff. They understand the language, they understand the problem. They're consuming public goods, please account for it and tell me how you're consuming them. And if you're wasting them, I want to know, because I'm an investor and so will future generations be. It's not complicated.
I wonder if there will be a tendency to neglect the pressing problems of today that still require solutions. Now, Marina, what do you...
I would really like to say, like, when you were talking about expanding business or any kind of business that is, look at that section of society or people if anybody's rights have been violated. If you're taking something away from them when you are expanding some kind of business, have you considered that fact? That part of people in the society, aren't they people? Aren't they part of this?
So they would be stakeholders in the business as well.
Don't you think so?
Incredibly important thing, but I think it's also important it comes together with the other two things. So it's kind of collaborate around what we can collaborate to commit murder, or we can collaborate to create something really positive. So but I think as an idea, I think it's a really important principle.
Well, collaboration, of course, when it comes to sustainable development, is key. That's the key element, that no individual organization can do it on their own. So we come from different fields of expertise, different silos, companies, in value chains, regions, cities, and we need to cooperate to arrive at sustainability. Positive part of the summit is, I think, the people that decided to come here. If you present a topic which is important for the world, you present it to young people, and you make it feasible for them to believe that they can make a difference and learn something. The major part of it is actually already scored on that, because from what I felt with regard to the atmosphere, it was just a lovely bunch of people.
The summit is great. I mean, there's a lot of young people who are really, the leaders of tomorrow, coming together to sort of talk about a very, really important subject. So from that point of view, I think it's fantastic. I think it's a lovely place. It's a great town. Clearly, everyone's had to fly in from different parts of the world, but that's one of the things you have to do if you want to meet like-minded people. And I'm sure, in a revolutionary spirit, people can go off and really make a difference. Brave. This is a very tough path. It's turbid times. There's all sorts of interesting things going on. Try and be clear about what you want to achieve. Remember, your values and your principles are really important, and then develop those skills to ensure that you really make a difference.
Please give us a brief summary of the workshop today.
It's about gathering the competence that's in the space, in all the youth, and making people share what they're good at, what they want to do, so that they can find each other and start collaborating. Because I also find a lot of times when you go to a conference, there are lots of interesting people there and that have great ideas, but you never really have the time to speak to them about the things that really matter. So that was the main aim of the workshop, and it looked like people were having a very good time speaking to each other, and a lot of people found new partners and people that can help them in different areas, in technology or in helping you write your thesis.
Okay, this is a successful model. This small project and was successful and had money and really being connected with this NGO and being active in this party and being exposed to different people and connecting with people in Cairo. This is a perfect project. But again, because of the education, we have mixed definitions for things. Like everyone has his definition of civic country, for example, or democracy. From the very radical people to the very liberal people.
And 800,000 cubic of that material cleaned because it was contaminated from the industry with organic compounds, with heavy metals, etc. We cleaned up that material. 10 years before we would have moved it all. We saved 60,000 lorry loads of movement, that's congestion, pollution, accidents, etc. by reusing it. We also saved money by doing that. It wouldn't have happened without clear targets, clear strategies, clear objectives. We built new transport links for the site. We've invested very, very heavily in transport. This is now the second best connected site in the whole of London from a public transport point of view, having been one of the worst connected sites. We've invested in innovation in transport, in new cycle and walking routes. You can now walk into town, 8 kilometres into town, or cycle into town, very, very easy along canals and through parks, etc. We've cleaned up those rivers. We've now allowed boats to come in, 300-ton boats that bring construction materials into the site, but also we can take waste and other products out. And during the legacy, in the future coastal games, this will become a very vibrant piece of river in which commercial, but also leisure boats, etc. will begin to kind of repopulate boats. So here's one of the boats taking out waste. We decided that over 50% of all the material on the site would have to come by non-road-based transport, never be done again before on a major project. And so we had millions of tons of material coming in by rail. Fantastic from a logistics point of view, allowed us to manage the site much more easily, but also very good from a community point of view, much less disruption. We looked at this, I told you about the 50% reduction in carbon, so we came up with a complete strategy around carbon to deliver our 50% reduction. It started off with energy, carbon mitigation, energy efficiency. We required each of our buildings to be 15% better than the building standards, and some of them achieved a 30% improvement. We then put in a major combined equivalent heat and power plant, which delivered a further 25% carbon reduction, and then we looked at renewables. So a major piece of work to develop a strategy for this sort of site, but also was flexible enough to evolve in the future, not enough time to look like that. We put in a black water treatment system, it's called a membrane bioreactor, that treats sewage on the site for use in toilets and for irrigation, etc. We could have used ground source water, we could have used river water, we could have used root water, but effectively with all those systems you're taking water out of the ecosystem. Taking black water and treating it on the site and reusing it was an amazingly complicated thing to do. It required us to convince a lot of people to put their necks on the line, but we now got the biggest, it's a 7-year R&D project, it's now the biggest plant of its kind. A huge amount of training and apprenticeships across the park. And then we built venues, which wouldn't be white elephants. So here we thought this is the Olympic Stadium in London. We did a business case. It was determined that a 25,000-seater stadium was needed after the games, and yet we needed an 80,000-seater stadium before the games. We built it as a kit of parts that could be taken down, recycled to leave a 25,000-seater stadium. The red diagram here, the red profile, is the Beijing stadium. Same number of seats. The black one is our stadium. It's a quarter of the size, same number of people. This is what the stadium will look like. It's a fantastic experience when you're there. But all of that structure above the podium is designed to be taken away. For the games, you need 17,500 seats for swimming. Every other swimming competition in the world, every other international swimming event in the world requires no more than 2,500 seats. So why put 17,500 seats into a stadium where you'll never use those seats again? What a waste. And so we designed the stadium so that 15,000 seats could be taken away, put in the back of a lorry and reused for the next Olympic Games or at other events. And we used very, very lightweight and used modern construction technologies to achieve that. We built whole stadium, whole venues in a basketball stadium that was completely portable, dismountable. Again, we could put it
good time here, I think, while learning about sustainability and really critiquing leadership and what does it mean to be good leaders out there in the world, and how do we create opportunities for collaboration so that we're making positive change. I think that's really important. The second master's program that we just launched last year is the Master in Sustainable Product Service System Innovation, also known as MSPI or MSPI. It's a 2-year program, and it's, again, focused on sustainability and leadership, and this time looking a little bit more deeply into product innovation and how do we create products and product service systems that help to meet the needs of society in a more sustainable way, I guess is the easiest way to describe that. So if you're interested, maybe those people who are current students...
I have a few personal ones, and that is that if you are passionate, critical, and you want to be a change agent, you should avoid saying no to contrarians and opposition. You should say yes, meaning that you are inclusive upfront, and then you add things that may put in question the stuff that your opposition is leaning at.
Dear Summit friends, it's been a pleasure to have you here. And I would like to thank all the participants, the students, the sponsors, the speakers, the volunteers and the helpers for making this event a success.
We have worked hard to organize the summit, as well as to all the participating students and faculty members who have gathered here in Karlskrona from all over the world. It must have been a hard task for you to prepare for this summit between classes and examinations. Lastly, I would like to conclude my speech by extending my deepest gratitude to the President of the Blekinge Institute of Technology and to the President of the participating colleges and universities who have sent these bright and intelligent students to Karlskrona. Thank you very much.